Welcome back to the Kelowna Real Estate Podcast. I'm your mortgage broker host, Taylor Atkinson.
And I'm your real estate agent host, Matt Glenn. What's shaking, Taylor? How was the run?
Yeah, my legs are shaking, man. Run was good.
I doubt it, dude. You're like the fittest guy I know.
Yeah, we went down to Vancouver this weekend. I just did the BMO half, so not the full one. But man, what a beautiful race course.
21K?
Yeah. Yeah, it only took me 6 hours. No. Yeah, it was an hour and 50, so I was pretty happy.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Because I know the 10K, like you kind of want to get under an hour. So like more than double, under 2 hours. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
and it, like Vancouver, man, you kind of forget. We haven't been there in a while. Like it's a gorgeous city. We had a ton of fun. Like took Leo to the women's professional soccer team there, the Rise. It was a great soccer game, did the aquarium. Just, it was cool to get out. And you kind of forget what a big city feels like. And then you come back to Kelowna and you're like, it's tiny, but we're getting there. There's a couple big buildings going up.
Yeah, more by the second.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Good. I have not done any half marathons or half marathons, but doing good, dude. Adjusting to life with 2 kids. Going from 1 kid to 2 kids is an extraordinary difference.
Yeah.
Like, it's not twice as hard. It's like at least 5 or 6 times as hard.
Yeah. In like 6 months, you'll forget what 1 kid was like, though. This will be the new norm.
Oh, exactly. Already, like we're 3 months in or whatever, and it's already getting to that point. So yeah, just an adjustment, but it's been awesome. Yeah. It's not because either of the kids are difficult either. They just have different needs at different times. And it's just hard. So, but it's been also extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
So,
Sweet. Well, summertime's here. So now it's just naked baby time. You let them run around, no diapers, and it's just, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Well, our guest also has 2 kids. We were talking to Jeff Houghton from H&H Homes Okanagan Infill. He's got a handful of arms of the business, I guess. He's building up at Big White, does infill projects, does custom homes.
Does rental projects.
Yeah. His background, he comes from like an accountant type background. So he really knows the numbers and knows how to make it work. Another great guy from Boucherie. I feel like half of our guests for some reason have been from Boucherie, which I just love. But yeah, so I've known Jeff for ages. Yeah, he gets some wicked products out there. They've won a bunch of awards and I loved the show. It was great.
I did too. It was just really great getting his perspective because he's just in it all, right? Doing all the things real estate. It was very good to talk to him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I think the takeaway here is like, real estate, it's not just one shoe fits all and you're going to be successful if you just do this one thing for the next 30 years. Like you have to adapt and pivot specifically now. And Jeff's obviously doing that. Some things are profitable for a few years and then it dries up and you're on to the next until, government policy changes or tariffs or whatever happens. But yeah, lots of good information on this one. So you guys are going to like it.
I'd agree with that 100%. Also, we're out for Kelowna now. By the time the show gets released, you have like 8 hours, maybe even less to vote for us. So get on it.
Yeah, we're not the best at collecting votes, but it would mean a lot to us. So we got nominated, but now you got to vote for us to take the gold home.
Yeah.
So
best podcast in Kelowna. Last year we won bronze, so we'd really like the gold.
Yeah, or silver, whatever. I'll take anything to step up.
Or bronze, man. Bronze is pretty cool.
Yeah. But it's kind of a tricky one to vote. So you got to go on Kelowna now and then scroll down to media and best podcast. Yeah. So appreciate the support on that one, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for last year too.
Yeah.
This episode, like every episode, sponsored by Century 21 Assurance Realty, best brokerage in Okanagan. We're everywhere in all the cities in the interior. We're looking for agents, looking for clients, buyers, sellers. If you're one of those, give us a call. I'd love to talk to you, see if we could work out for each other. Enjoy the show.
Okay, Jeff Houghton from H&H Homes. How's it going, man?
Hey, thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate
Thanks for coming on, man.
So we just like to start our show with what's your perfect Friday look like, other than, you and I running into each other at daycare drop off. What else do you do on Fridays?
You'll get to know me here in short order. I'm a pretty regimented and disciplined person. So normal Friday, I actually work out 7 days a week, 5 a.m. during the weekdays and 6 a.m. on the weekends. And I don't really miss a day. So
good for you.
Nice.
And then typical guy workouts, a lot of weightlifting and very little stretching or cardio. And I'll get my week started. Yeah.
Nice.
And I did realize, even though I'm in construction, about 95% of the time I'm in front of a computer. Yeah. So I didn't get many steps in any particular days. I'm maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 steps a day. And I'd read a documentary on these blue zones, if you guys know what those are.
Yes, I had long life. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a direct correlation between the average steps that you take each day and the longevity of your life. So I was like, man, I'm lifting all these weights, but I better get my steps in. So I also, after lunch hour, strategically, I do a 45-minute walk every day as well.
Nice.
And I'm in a flat area in the lower mission, so I now do a weighted walk. So I'll walk with 40 or 50 or 60 pounds on my back. And so that kind of helps the cardio, helps get me my steps in, and then kind of gives me that afternoon burst of energy that I need from sitting in an office all day. And it also helps you digest your food.
Nice. I do the same thing. I just slap my kids on my back though. And
right? Yeah. How old are your kids?
2 years and 7 weeks.
Oh, so man, we're all in the thick of it, right?
Yes. But yeah, we live in McKinley. There's hills everywhere, and like every time I go for a walk, I have someone strapped to me. Yeah,
and then lately, you guys might get a kick out of this, but I weigh 190, so I'm trying to do 190 grams of protein per day. I feel that's like on trend right now.
Yeah,
it's honestly like a full-time job because you only want to eat like 40 grams per meal, so you got to space it out to like 5 meals. So lots of beef, lots of eggs, and then fruits and vegetables. And I've pretty much cut alcohol to zero, carbs to zero. I feel way better after cutting out the carbs, and like zero junk food. So pretty regimented, pretty routine. And then in terms of just the perfect Friday, as you guys know with young kids, they're long weeks, and sometimes the weekends are busier. So the perfect Friday is probably to bed pretty early, like maybe a family barbecue, and get to bed and getting ramped up for the weekend.
Getting ready for your 6 a.m. workout.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Well, hey, something on the health side, not that this is a health show, but Dr. Rhonda Patrick, she just got out her 100th episode, long episodes on podcasts. Like she's like over 2 hours and like very sophisticated, but a lot of research recently shown on creatine for not just muscles, but like brain, bones, maybe incorporate some of that. But one interesting fact on that, not to get really sidetracked, but there is quite a bit of data to show recovery on concussions and prevention on concussions. Like that's how much it affects the brain.
Creatine?
So, yeah. Yeah, give it a listen. Shout out to Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Yeah, so take creatine every day and then collagen as well every day. Good source of protein. Animal collagen. But creatine, you got to watch out. I think I gained like 16 pounds of water weight when I originally hopped on it. You hold a lot more water. That kind of peters off. But
talking about work, like I've known you for a long time, and I've always known that you've had H&H Homes, custom homes, mostly single family. Only recently, I've seen Okanagan Infill on the side of your truck, chatting to you a bit this winter. I see you're up at Big White as well. You're in a lot of different areas and assets. Can you kind of touch over the umbrella of your company, your building side?
Yeah, I'd love to. So H&H Homes, actually incorporated that company in my second year of university, 2006. Didn't really get on the tools until I graduated in 2008, which was an interesting time to start, right? The market was super deflated and super depressed, but a good time to start because I kind of got to like hand pick all the trades that I wanted. Everyone was slow.
Yeah.
So I got to build a really good team.
Lining.
I'm still using like 90% of those trades today, which is kind of neat.
Nice.
But yeah, so the H&H custom homes, so that's single family custom homes, and we do some spec homes as well. So that's been going for 16 years, and we've done about 120 homes. And then we do renovations and we do some like commercial leasehold improvements as well. Yeah, we've won renovation of the year, home of the year, and builder of the year as well. So it's been a successful company. But for you. As you guys can speak to, you can kind of see the trend, especially in Kelowna, going toward like densification, infill projects. So I had met a guy in 2019 that was really interested in getting the infill going. And so we started a company, Okanagan Infill. We're kind of niche. So we do like 2, 3, 4 plexes, but kind of on the higher end side, kind of, bigger square footage, higher end, just stuff where you don't see a lot of it in the Okanagan. So we've kind of got that niche product.
Are they stratified? Are you selling them off, or is it like a rental portfolio after?
Yeah. So in this company, they're all stratified and all sold off.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I've got a Big White development company where we bought a chunk of land. It's part of the Sundown Strata up at Big White. So we bought some residual land. So last year, we built 5 units. We built a single family and 2 duplexes. And then right now we're just finishing off. We're doing a 4-plex. And then we have a piece of property that is actually touching the base of like the bullet chairlift. So we own like a little piece of property there too, which is pretty exciting. Yeah. So we do the developing and the building up there. And then I also have a holding company. We do purpose-built rentals. So right now we're building a purpose-built rental duplex in Lakeview Heights on Crestview Drive with legal suites in the basement. So we'll build that and throw it in the portfolio and keep it. And then sometimes we'll find really good buys on like nicer older homes. We'll do a renovation and put those into the portfolio as well. I think it's important to diversify, right? Especially as it gets slower. So, you know, right now the construction industry is a little bit slower. We'll see what happens with the interest rates here. But when it's slower, okay, we can just pivot and let's keep all our staff busy. Let's keep our guys busy. We'll build this rental duplex with legal suites, right?
That is awesome. So like two huge takeaways there is I think you get so many people, not just this industry, but a lot of industries, but specifically you see it more in this industry, giving advice that aren't really doing it themselves, you know, like real estate agents, mortgage brokers, builders, whatever, that don't own their own home or haven't built. So I think it's really important to have that experience so you can give proper advice on it. And point two, like you said, being able to pivot and diversify. Again, a lot of people in the industry that will just sit there and be like, oh yeah, times are tough. Like, you know, I'm not making money. I got to do layoffs. But if you have the ability to adapt like you're doing, be diversified, like that's the only way to succeed on it.
Touching back to that, like starting out in 08, it was extremely slow. Like you couldn't even put the keys into a front door of a house and have someone just take the house, right? Like I think it took us 11 months to sell like the first spec house that I built. You know, kind of having survived those times when it gets slow, like right now, like you've got a full toolkit that you can use, right? Like you got to cut back on your expenses. You got to get creative. You got to do other things. So
yeah, you seem like you have really good composure. Again, like, you know, it's normally at daycare drop off I'm seeing you where it's like, it is chaos. But I imagine it's similar to a build site. So, you know, you're carrying yourself very well. You know, talking about stressful times, you know, we could touch on this a little bit, like tariffs. What do tariffs do for your business right now? Obviously, like there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns. So we're not here to kind of give advice. Like this podcast is going to come out in a month from now. So probably a lot's going to change. But what do you have going on right now that it's affecting?
Yeah, I think the first thing you guys said is we just don't know. That's like the most important thing to go over with Trump. Obviously, he could decide that all these tariffs are off tomorrow and maybe the stock market rebounds, you know, the 8% that it's gone down. We don't know. But right now, there's a lot of pivoting in the supply chain. So we're being forced to use different materials just because the price increases have gone up so quickly. So any of you guys that know like James Hardy plank siding, which is a concrete based siding, that's your lap siding, your board of batten. You see it literally on 80% of the homes in the Okanagan, and actually on our big white projects too. They just raised last week prices across the board by about 25%. And on an average home, like on a 3,000 square foot walkout rancher, that equates to like 10 grand, probably 10 or 11 grand. There's also a Canadian company that manufactures called LP Smart Side. It's a similar product. It's not concrete based. Some people don't think it's quite as good, but it's still a good product. So like everyone's pivoting over to them because they were similarly priced to James Hardy. But of course, then I just heard the grapevine that those prices, I don't know whether it's they can't keep up with demand or that they've just decided that now they're underpriced, but apparently they're going to do a huge price increase as well. So, you know, you're just playing this game of cat and mouse, you know, we're pivoting, but I don't know how much that's going to work or how long we're going to be able to do that, right?
Like Matt and I spoke about that before, trying to be optimistic about tariffs. I mean, like, this is such a great opportunity for Canadian-based companies to go out and sell to other countries or buy internally.
Or even just other Canadians.
Yeah. But this is a prime example of what happens, I guess, is they don't have the supply to do that. They need to increase costs on it, or they just take advantage, not saying LP is, but, you know, like people are just going to end up inherently doing that if everything else goes up with inflation.
Just putting the prices to market rate.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, like they could charge 20% more and probably still get 90% of the business, right? So,
yeah.
I don't know what direction they're going, but yeah, I think that's like Trump's purpose of tariffs is to bring the manufacturing back. I get that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Actually, probably in the long run, once everything settles down, it could be a really good thing for their country anyway. We would be forced to do it as well, but there's going to be a lot of growing pains in the meantime, right? Like we're not set up to just start manufacturing all these things tomorrow. There's tariffs on, right?
Well, yeah, it's like supply and demand in real estate, right? There's not enough housing, right? We've had this housing shortage. This is a prime example of like, you know, your cost directly has to go up and that has to be passed on to the end user now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know like there's cost plus, fixed. Like if you're in any current contracts right now, like what do you do? What is the end user homeowner? What can they expect out of this?
The honest answer is that right now, we don't know. We're just going to patiently wait. We'll probably wait for a couple weeks to see okay, is Trump going to repeal these? Or are these here to stay? And then, like I said, it's just a matter of just checking with the supply chain. It's actually surprising. It seems like in construction, a lot of the stuff that we buy, it seems to be we're going to be okay. Like, so far, I think windows have gone up 7%. We talked about the James Hardy. A lot of appliances come from the States. You've got your Whirlpools, your Frigidairs, your KitchenAid. I think that's from the States. So we can probably pivot to European and Chinese brands. You can probably pivot to your LGs.
Every house will have a Bertazzoni range.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the honest answer is I don't 100% know. I think just each day we're probably going to know more.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to create more economic uncertainty, and it's going to make more people probably wait on the sidelines even longer, right?
So you're in like such an interesting position here because you're building new homes, spec homes, custom homes, rental properties, infill. Where's the smart money going right now? Or where's the smartest money, if there is any smart money? Do rental projects pencil, spec homes pencil? Like, how does this infill projects work out? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Where should we spend our money?
I don't want to make this too doom and gloom, but yeah, like spec houses don't really pencil.
Yeah.
The multifamily, like we just got approved. This is a funny story. So we've got a 9-plex that we designed in Lower Mission. We're super pumped about it. It takes a long time in the design phase, so we don't need to start it immediately. But we're talking to the city of Kelowna doing our development permit, and there was 12 applications for new builds, and we were the only one of the 12 that were actually going to build and try to sell the thing. The other 11 applications were all purpose-built rentals.
Wow.
Yes, the smart money, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of the stuff you see in town, especially multifamily, you see the big wood frame structures like everywhere.
Yes.
And if you're like me, you're like, who's moving into these things? They're all the same square footage. They're all the same design. They all just look like square boxes.
Like, side note, but what are all these things going to look like in 10 to 20 years? Like, this is what I just cannot get over.
Great question. That's all I'm going to
They
say.
look pretty right now, but like drive down Pandosy off the highway and there's like 20 old apartment buildings that just looks like they're never going to go anywhere. And that's kind of like the main corridor into the Mission. It's just going to look like that for eternity.
Maybe a little short-sighted, but when you look at something more than like a 10, 20, 30, 40, 60 plexes, so CMHC, which is a government program, they will lend the developer the money. They'll lend you up to 95% loan to value, and plus they'll amortize a project for 40 to 50 years. Yeah. So like those projects pencil because you can get your renters in there. Actually, you can even charge a builder's fee within your cost, right? So that's why you're just seeing a ton of those projects going up in town, right? Exactly. Follow the money, follow the incentive, and then you can see the result, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of spec houses, not great right now unless you're like 1.1 and under, right? Is the GST break in now? Is there zero GST?
I think to $1 million, right there.
Yeah.
And then the property purchase tax too. I think there's a break on that as well. So
yeah.
Yeah. Kind of back to the question of how to make money. Like nothing's going to make money. But in your infill company, like, can we talk a little bit about how to subdivide? Like if someone has a single family home and they're like, I have equity here, I'm sitting on a half acre, I would love to do something with this and make a bit of cash and to densify and, add units like the city and the province wants to do. High level, time frame, costs. Like if it's on a flat piece of land, do you guys do much of that? Like how does that look?
Yeah, so I'll qualify. I have a right-hand man in the Okanagan Infill that like he loves zoning. He loves dealing with the city. He loves subdivisions and stratification. So he's my guy for that. But I have a really good example. We had a client with a house on Bonjou in Lower Mission. Beautiful lot, beautiful street, older area. His house was like shoved off to the side of a really big lot. And so, we ended up just lopping off a 40-foot wide by 100-foot deep lot right off his side yard.
Oh, nice.
Pretty quick, simple, easy subdivision process. So realistically, you can do it with a builder, or in his case, he had already had the process started when we were talking to him. But you get a civil engineer and a surveyor is kind of how it starts. And, you've got to bring in new services and utilities. You get your property lines, make sure that you meet all the city requirements. The civil engineer will do that, make sure you can build a house on the new piece of property. And then you just start an application with the city. So very generally, it takes about 6 to 9 months to subdivide, and I would say 140 to 170,000 type thing is the costs, kind of all in with your engineering, your utility upgrades, the city DCCs, etc. It was super cool because he had it was a really cute home. It was well kept, but he lived in the home. We built a brand new house beside him. They built it all custom. And then he moved into the custom home and then sold the old home. And I think he did really well. Funnily enough, the value of his old home, I don't think went down at all because he had this awkward, huge side yard with like this big tree on it. It wasn't serving any purpose. So when he lopped it off, we fenced his other yard, like his rear yard. And I actually think the property was like more valuable without all the added land. So
Yeah, that is a good point. Like you generally don't see values decrease that much when you're subdividing that.
yeah.
To your knowledge, do you know any programs other than just tapping into your own equity? Like how does somebody come up with 140 to 170 grand to subdivide? Like knowing there's profit on the other side of that, but that's a pretty big barrier to entry. Are there any companies that kind of help out with that or programs?
Well, shouldn't that be a question for you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, fair
Like
enough.
it is. Matt, I teed myself up well there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you call me directly, I'll be JV in these.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of a plug to say, like, I personally feel like that's a missed opportunity for
Absolutely.
government funding. Like if we're coming out with all these other, multifamily stuff, like why are we not investing more on single family? Like I see that area of the market, you said around that $1 million 1.1 in the Okanagan. If no one's penciling these to build a single family home, what's going to happen in 5 years when everyone wants a single family home? They're just going to become more expensive. To turn it around, like would there be any programs that you would suggest, or like, if we're speaking directly to the government, like, hey, can we fund some of these with similar style of financing programs that we're doing with multifamily?
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak much to that, but a lot of these homeowners, they've been in the house 30, 40, 50 years. They have an insane amount of equity in the property, in the house. So typically, I'm guessing in this homeowner's instance, that was what happened. Just had an insane amount of equity. Easy to go to your bank and say, listen, this is what I want to do. You get a construction mortgage. You probably finance maybe a line of credit for the subdivision process, and then you can get a construction loan for the rest. But yeah, in terms of other avenues, I don't think the government is super open to that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we talked to the city previously, and we're going to have Brian Smith back on shortly, but like they've commented, like DCCs are just like non-negotiable, but that was kind of the pitch. It was like, well, why don't you do DCCs at the end? Like why are we forcing homeowners and developers to pay for these costs up front when they just don't have the money for it? But if you allow that to be paid out at the end of the project, there's built-in equity, right? Like, it's a secured asset.
That's going to be it.
Yeah. So for Big White, like just selfishly, I'm curious, how's building going up there? Like, is it still active in terms of like people want properties at Big White? Is it growing? Why'd you guys move to Big White, I guess, or expand to Big White?
Our best friends were thinking about buying up there, and then we were thinking about buying. So that's kind of how it started. And we were just looking at potentially buying an older unit, and maybe I would do a quick renovation and we would split it. The idea being that, like, I think it's great to be at Big White twice a month, but I don't want to be up there every single weekend, and neither did they. So it's like, hey, we can split all the costs. We trust each other to take care of this unit equally. So we started looking, couldn't quite find anything that we wanted. Then we kind of started to consider to build, and then this chunk of land came up. So that's kind of how we got invested, and we kind of just hopped on it right away. So Sundance is like one of the best locations, ski in, ski out, up at Big White. Walking distance to the village, it's all pretty flat. So it's a pretty amazing opportunity. And then he's a business partner in that development company. Of the 9 units we built, we ended up keeping one and just spent a ton of time up there this last year, which was amazing. So for personally, it was a great investment. It was really fun for the family. Taught the girls how to ski. It was a hoot. But in terms of building, that's regional district of Kootenay boundary, which is super odd, right? You're dealing with this office in, I think it's in Grand Forks, like 3.5 hours away, as opposed to City of Kelowna. I'm not sure. I think City of Kelowna wants it to be in their jurisdiction, but that's another conversation. But Big White themselves are extremely pro development. So they, when I bought the land, they literally reached out to me. We've never had this happen before. And they're like, hey, what can we do to make it easy and enjoyable for you to build up here? So if you need a place to park your equipment, if you need some extra dirt, like whatever you need, just let us know.
Wow.
And, admittedly, they said, listen, like we want more building up there. That puts more people in our chairlifts at the end of the day, right? So it kind of makes sense. So they'll do whatever they can. But on the flip side of that is it's extremely hard to build up there, because no matter what, you're like a minimum 2-year build, right? You have a short season for construction.
Yeah.
Still up there right now, there's, I don't know how many, there's 7 or 8 feet of snow. So kind of by the time it melts or it's manageable, you've got to like dig your footings, get your foundation, get everything prepped, get it framed, kind of get it to lock up, and then it's snowing like crazy again, right? And then the next year you'd come back and then you'd finish it off. Some of the bigger projects are 3, 4, 5 years, right, to build. So it's a tough place to build. It's a very expensive place to build for multiple reasons, because a lot of the trades don't want to go up there. So they charge you a lot of travel, or they'll just charge you, just 10 or 20% more to go up to Big White. It's obviously expensive to get materials up there as well. And then just like the climate up there is insane. So the unit that we built, we were putting the roof system on, and I'm not a carpenter by trade. I come from an accounting background, but we're putting the roof system on, and like I've never seen so many trusses spaced like so close together. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And the framers were like, holy cow, this is a lot. And just like the amount of engineering that went into the system. So I phoned the engineer and said, what's going on? And he's like, man, we had to rate the roof of your unit for 1 million pounds of snow. 1 million pounds. Yeah. So I'm like, well, why? And he said, well, we have to assume that it could potentially have like 9 feet of snow on the entire roof, but also where it's been like, rained on and pushed down and compacted. So like just the amount of like weight and snow load, it's insane. So like everything you do up there, it's just like insanely expensive. So
that's funny. So on the same kind of note, I sold a unit up there a couple months ago, and the inspector went to go in the attic. The attic opening was like 9 inches because all the trusses were so close together.
Right?
So he couldn't get up there. Then he looked up there and he said the same thing. He's like, man, there is like so many trusses up here, spaced really close together. So that makes sense.
Man, missed opportunity. I remember when I was a kid shoveling driveways for like $2. Just go up to Big White. Like I imagine you guys are just shoveling snow for 6 months of the year just to like get to your material.
$2, you're gonna shovel 9 feet of snow off of 1 million pounds.
Well, obviously you're gonna charge more now, man.
Like $450.
Yeah.
Like you got to budget a lot for the snow removal, because the fourplex, like we kind of abandoned it for a bit because there's so much snow. We got it. We have to start mathematically. We want to try to get it done for this snow season, right? So it's at like framing lockup-ish stage. So we went to hop back on it, and I think I had 2 machines up there for 2 weeks just clearing snow.
Oh man.
You're just like taking money and just like flushing it down.
It's funny because it's not like you just take the snow and put it to the side of the driveway. You gotta take it somewhere, right? So
you can pile it as high as you can on your own property, and then eventually you just have to truck it away, right? So
exactly.
It's kind of wild though, like comparables up there, you're buying, I guess most of them are like fourplexes or duplexes or something, but like the cost doesn't seem outrageous when you consider the surplus charge that builders would have to incur to go up there. Right? Is it because the land costs would be slightly cheaper, or like
the land costs is slightly cheaper? Yeah. But like I don't know how familiar people are, but like if you look at the homes right above us on Feathertop Way, like there's a bunch of nice single family homes being built in there. That's a nice subdivision, but it is pretty expensive. Like you're looking at 2.1 to 4.5 million for like a 3,800 square foot house. And the land is at most like 800 grand for a lot. The prices are expensive. You're looking at some of the older stuff. Yeah. Like there's some pretty good deals, especially if you're in some sort of a multifamily with shared costs, right?
Yeah. Are you a CPA? Like, is that what you went to school for, or business?
Yeah, I did a 4-year commerce degree at UBC Van. And then I did major in accounting and then did some finance and real estate. But I had job offers at like the big 4 firms, and I accepted with KPMG. But in the background, I'd already started this company in my second year. I was kind of managing it from Vancouver. Wasn't doing a heck of a lot. But I just had this moment. It was a first week at KPMG. I was back in Kelowna. So I was going in to get my CPA. And I just had this moment. I'm like, man, if I don't give this construction company a go right now, like by the time I spend 3 or 4 more years getting my CPA, I'm never going to do it. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to give it 1 year. I'm going to try this construction thing. I'd never even been on a construction job site. I had no business starting a construction company, but so I just gave it 1 year. I'm like, just going to see how it goes. And that's kind of how that got going.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So I feel like most construction companies start the other way around, right?
100%.
Where they're a builder and then they kind of get into it, and they're usually like in over their head just in the financial side of things. But you're probably better off to start where you came from. Right? Like
could go either way, I think. But yeah, you're right. So most builders, you got to think by and large, they come from a construction background, maybe even start as a laborer, then a carpenter, then kind of a site supervisor. Like all carpenters are trying to get off the tools at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of those guys become builders, and a lot of them are incredible builders because they've been in construction their entire life. They just know everything about every aspect of build. But when it comes to the business side of things, they're completely just learning on the fly, right? Like in terms of the taxes, the invoices, and all that sort of thing. So with my accounting background, I did spend like 4 years on the tools, meeting the trades, being immersed in it, quickly kind of moved off the tools. And then I have like one main construction manager, and the guy is like incredible with all aspects of construction. And then we take care of what I'll call his weaknesses, which is all the paperwork in-house. So having that accounting background, I think, has been a huge competitive advantage and kind of differentiator, especially if you're trying to do higher end homes or even these multifamily projects. Sometimes we'll bring in investors. Well, when you have a set of like financials and budgets and all sorts of paperwork that's extremely well organized, and you can talk about the tax implications, et cetera, it's going to give you an advantage over the competition.
Yeah. Well, I mean, specifically in today's market, right, where there's so many unknowns and you kind of need to have that security of it. In terms of building right now, like what are people's biggest mistakes? What are trends? I guess trends are basically just stagnant. No one's doing anything right now. But
we're going to European.
Yeah.
Like I said.
Yeah. True.
And Asian influence for sure.
Yeah, and Asian influence. Yeah. I think biggest mistakes people make, that's, I think, a pretty simple answer. I guess in terms of if we're talking about like a custom home, it's just not having like an open and honest communication upfront with your builder. And that could be on the client or that could be on the builder. So, if the builder's not being honest about how much it's actually going to cost, that's going to lead to big problems once the project's underway, or how long the project's going to take. So that's also not a good start. And then for the client, if the client's not being open and honest with how much they realistically and comfortably want to spend, it's not good. And then also if they're not being honest with how long they think the project's going to take, or, certain features that I call them like must-have features for the client. If they're not, telling the contractor that, it's just going to be kind of a rocky road right from the start. And then also just probably not choosing the right builder. Interesting, like Kelowna, when we go to these award shows, there are so many good builders in Kelowna. Like the quality of these award show of the photos and of the projects that you see people building, it's just like, it's jaw dropping. So tons of exceptional builders and developers in Kelowna. So lots of good options, but you want to make sure when you're choosing your builder, like make sure that you trust them. Obviously it's going to be a massive investment. So make sure you have a lot of trust in that person, especially if it's like a cost plus job, right? Because you have the trust that all these invoices are for their house. And then, there's a markup added to that. And then you have to like them too, right? Like you're going to spend 7-8 months to 3 or 4 years with this person. So make sure that you like them and you get along with them. And then I always recommend like ask a ton of questions, and that builder should have an answer to every single question. No questions asked. They should not hesitate. And, make sure that you talk to the clients that they built for, or, you visit their job sites that they have on the go. Like, are the job sites well organized? Are they clean? Do they have job sites on the go? So all things like that. So just have open and honest communication. Otherwise, it can get derailed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel like a huge one there, which I don't know if people do or not, but is like, hey, can I come walk through a home you're building right now? Mm-hmm. Like, why would you not do that? Do you get most clients looking to do that?
100%. Yep. Yeah. Like I actually take a lot of clients through my personal home just to show them like what I did personally in terms of features, where I spent the money, where I didn't spend the money is almost equally important. And we'll take them through projects that are underway or projects that are similar to their own. Right? Or if we're talking about hey, you should do this cool feature. Lots of people are doing this. So I think you're going to love this. We can take them through one of the projects and have them walk through it and see it in person. So just trying to add value and make sure the person gets the best result at the end of the day.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of like self-enjoyment for like walking through, like handing the keys over? Like, is that kind of the reason why you like to build, is seeing like a client come in and be like, oh man, this is my dream home?
Man, that's a fascinating question. So I project managed for probably 8 or 9 years. And now, like I alluded to earlier, like I'm pretty much primarily in the office. I have project managers now. So I'm not on site a ton. I miss that. Like I miss being able to hand the keys to the clients. I guess I could overrule my project manager and tell them, hey,
give me those.
Yeah. I'm having a bad day. I want to feel better.
Yeah. But no, so the project managers hand over the keys and they get the glory, right?
It's like real estate agents and mortgage brokers.
I mostly now, like my job is managing people, right? It's just teaching, training, and trusting and delegating, right, to the people that I have in place.
Yeah. I love that answer. Okay. Well, we got to start getting into our wrap up part here. So I'll just dive into it. I feel like Matt and I have asked this 10 different ways. So just give us the answer. If you could buy property in the next 12 months in the Okanagan, what would it be?
So one of my life goals actually growing up was to, at one point, live on the water on Okanagan Lake. Because I was like, you know what? If you can do that, like you've made it, right? Like you're going to live this Okanagan lifestyle. You're going to be walking off your dock onto the boat and doing all the great things.
Yeah.
But in 2019, we bought a lot in Lakeview Heights, like a view lot in Lakeview Heights in a new little subdivision that actually the Bylands developed, and just completely love it. Like, we love every bit of it. We love the location. We love the privacy. We love the old growth, the neighborhood, the amenities close by. We've got, you're literally driving through vineyards to get to your house.
Yeah.
Nesters. We've got a little bakery there. Beautiful view. And it's a great spot to raise your family. We're on a cul-de-sac. So for me, my dream, I've put the other dream. It's no longer a dream. And we want to buy like a legacy property in Lakeview Heights, private, big, and I want to tear something down. And then I want to build a nice house for us and actually a carriage house. And I've already kind of talked my in-laws into moving into the carriage house.
Awesome.
I have the floor plans and I have the renderings, and they're actually saved on my desktop. So I see these floor plans every day. So it will happen. I'm willing it into existence. So
I love that.
It's only a matter of time.
Matt, you are way farther ahead to your dream than most of our other guests when we asked that question. So
yeah, like financially invested in it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and Lakeview is such a great area.
It is a nice area.
It's the Kitsilano of Kelowna, man. Like, we can literally rip downtown in 6 minutes, but then at the same time, we have this like private, large piece of property. Like, it's just unbeatable.
Yeah, agree.
That's awesome. All right, if you could give your 20-year-old self any advice, what are you saying?
Embrace failure.
Nice.
I think generally, even just speaking for myself, no one likes being bad at things, and no one likes failing at things or looking silly in front of other people. And I think because of that, we avoid, pursuing our dreams. We avoid trying new things. And I think it just holds us back in so many ways, in so many aspects of life. If you can embrace failure and know that it's actually necessary to be successful, you have to fail a lot of times. I literally, all of my businesses, we fail every day. It's like, okay, how can we not do that again? Let's iterate. Let's put some procedures in place. Let's not make that mistake again. But you're failing all the time, but that's just part of success, right? I just quickly want to say, I listened to a podcast a year ago. We all have young kids, so this is important. The lady was saying how instead of asking her kids when they got home from school, what was the best part of your day? What did you succeed at today? She would ask them, what was the thing that you failed at today? And I just thought that was so cool, because she was like normalizing failure, right? Saying that like, hey, this is normal.
Destigmatizing.
This is good to fail. And she said after a few months, the kids would get home and be like, oh, you wouldn't believe how badly I screwed up today. And she said it like,
yeah, you're getting a call.
Yeah, but it became this thing, like all the kids would try to outdo each other's failures. And I just think that's incredible. That's something I want to pass down to my kids. And
that's interesting.
I just think if you want to be successful, you got to realize that you are going to fail like a lot. It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
I don't know if I listen to the same podcast, but I've heard that as well. And
yeah,
I love that. What's your favorite charity, or how do you give back?
We get involved with the Kelowna Santas. So we'll do like these Christmas hampers, like these custom Christmas hampers every winter for families that are in need. It's actually an incredibly like emotional experience. They introduce you to a couple families, and there's kind of a list of the items that they can't afford to have. Get those items together and you can deliver them to the family, and it's pretty powerful. We'll do like Thanksgiving food drives and such, and get food and donate some groceries and whatnot. And then actually my right hand man, my construction manager, he's got 3 boys in hockey. So
nice.
I swear we must sponsor like every hockey team and every sweater and everything throughout the entire Okanagan. I wrote the young gentleman's name down just like 2 weeks ago. We have sponsored Maverick McCarthy. I think he's like a 12-year-old. Apparently is an absolute stud.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to make the NHL. Apparently he's like the best defenseman in Western Canada. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, trying to make the NHL, it's expensive probably to do so. So we just put some money in and hopefully he makes it.
Sweet.
Remember that name.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should have him on the podcast before he makes it big,
Get him on the pod, right?
Yeah. Maybe we should have him on our team. Matt's trying to spice up a hockey league for us to get into a...
He's only 12, but
man, he's got to skate better than us. Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
He'll definitely be way better than us, but...
He's probably huge. Yeah, who knows?
He's on the creatine for sure.
Oh, absolutely. He's on the protein diet for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, how can Taylor or I or a listener help you? What can we do for you?
If you guys want to check out our websites, we're H&H all spelled out. So it's a cool spot to check out our projects that we've done before and see some of our awards, contact numbers on there, and our emails on there. We're on Facebook and Instagram under H&H Homes and Okanagan Infill as well for both those companies. So if anyone wants to reach out, stop by the office or give us a call, honestly, in a 10 or 15-minute conversation, we can answer a lot of people's questions and let them know if what they're thinking about is feasible, how much it's going to cost to build, and how long it's going to take.
Yeah, or we just go with a weighted walk with you, I'll jump on your back and we'll just do laps around the mission and
throw on the rucksack. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming
It's
on.
been awesome.
It's been a long time coming, and yeah, I appreciate you. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, if you see me walking around Lower Mission there, hunched over with a backpack, give me a honk or a wave, right? On your way by.
Sounds good.
And I'll avoid any puddles if it's raining.
Yeah.
I got you there.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you around, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.